Okay, cool. So, all right. So we're actually getting started with Mountain Blade now, and we got Cloudcraft coming in over Skype to advise me in this game. I've heard a lot of great things about this game. That it's trying a set of mechanics that you don't see in other games. It's all about mounted combat and other parts of medieval combat. I've had friends here at the office tell me that it's really good. But I've never played it before, and Cloudcraft knows a lot about it, so he's going to be giving me a tour.
Yeah, I'm here to walk you through all the stuff that's not combat for the most part, so just start a new game. Also, I recommend having your camera in the upper right.
Oh, that will result in me minimizing the game for a second.
Oh, okay, just leave it in. It's not a big deal. There's just a couple menu options that'll be covered up.
Okay, so I'm being welcomed. I imagine that I can skip that. Oh, my
trust me on this. Do your reading on this one. There's a lot of reading, and part of the game is just talking to people and reading a bunch of stuff.
All right. So, welcome, adventurer, to Mountain Blade Warband. Before beginning the game, you must create your character. Remember that in the traditional medieval society depicted in the game, war and politics are usually dominated by male members of the nobility. That does not, however, mean that you should not choose to play a female character or one who is not of noble birth. Male nobles may have a somewhat easier start, but women and commoners can attain all the same goals, and in fact may have a much more interesting, if more challenging, early game. Interesting. I kind of want to be a lady for this. Is that going to mess up anything you had me planned?
No.
All right.
In fact, actually, it'll make this more interesting.
All right, so should I be a female thief? A steppe nomad. I want to be a steppe nomad. Is that cool?
You can be whatever you want for this.
Awesome.
And notice how now it's filling in your backstory.
You were a child of the steppe, born to a tribe of wandering nomads who lived in the great camps throughout the arid grasslands. Like other tribesmen, your family revered horses above almost everything else, and they taught you how to ride almost before you learned how to walk.
Apparently, compared to you, I'm yelling. I can actually try to adjust my mic away from my mouth.
So sorry about that. It's probably I adjusted the levels a little bit because I'm always terrified of being louder than other people, and so I probably overcompensated and made you louder than you needed to be. Let us know if people in the audience if the problem persists or if he's not able to correct it with his mic, and I can correct it with the levels over here. That would just mean minimizing the game for a second.
Yeah, I just figure me correcting it with the mic is easier.
Right, so a stepchild. A redheaded stepchild. That's what I am. As a girl growing out of childhood, you rode through the great steppes on a horse of your own, learning the ways of the grass and the desert. Although you sometimes went hungry, you became a skillful hunter and pathfinder in this trackless country. Your body, too, started to harden with muscles. You grew into the life of a nomad woman. Then as a young adult, life changed as it always does. You became a troubadour, a university student, goods peddler, smith, or a game poacher, absolutely. Though the distinction felt sudden to you, somewhere along the way you had become a woman, and a whole world seemed to change around you. Dissatisfied with common men's desperate scrabble for coin, you took to your local lord's own forests and decided to help yourself to its bounty. Laws be damned. You hunted stags, boars, and geese, and sold the precious meat under the table. You cut down trees right under the watchmen's noses and turned them into firewood that warmed the many freezing homes during the winter. All for a few silvers, of course. But soon everything changed, and you decided to strike out on your own as an adventurer. What made you take this decision was personal revenge, loss of a loved one, wanderlust, being forced out of your home, lust for money and power. Oh,
lust for money and power is probably the most accurate to what you'll actually be doing.
Let's go for it then. So, you know what? I'm glad you got me to read this stuff, because it's interesting, because it gives you not just like the story of who you are, but gives you some perspective on the different roles that people took in the society.
Yeah.
Only you know exactly what caused you to give up your old life and become an adventurer. To everyone else, it is clear that you're now motivated solely by personal gain. You want to be rich, powerful, respected, feared. You want to be the one whom others hurry to obey. You want people to know your name and tremble whenever it is spoken. You want everything, and you won't let anyone stop you from having it. Become an adventurer and ride to your destiny. I think we should...
Yeah, even, I'm pretty hardcore. I do, really high difficulty scenes. I still don't do the no quitting without saving. That said, there is no failure in this game.
Oh, really? You can't be killed and then you're game
No,
over?
if you lose, you can be captured. You can have your stuff taken from you. You can spend time in captivity, which will fast forward, but you never lose. So now, here's your stats stuff, and if you hover over it, it explains like every single one of them.
Holy crap.
And your starting stats are actually determined by your background, but now you can put points into them too.
Okay, so I get 3 in writing, for instance, because I grew up on the steppe. Power throw and power draw are probably things I get from having the hardened muscles of a steppe warrior. Looting and horse archery. Horse archery probably from being a steppe person.
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
Notice how there's party skills, personal skills, and leadership skills.
Oh.
That's important.
Like, wait, party skills? Where do you see that?
So usually the first thing you mess with is the attributes, because the attributes determine the maximum numbers of certain skills.
Oh, gotcha. So
like every 3 you have an attribute, you can get 1 more point in associated skills.
Oh, okay. So like,
yeah,
that seemed good.
And then each of the attributes have their own benefit. But then with the skills, so they've got the attribute they're based on, but there's also personal skills, which are basically just skills which you personally have and which your companions can have too, and which are beneficial. Like all of the combat skills are going to be personal skills. Mm-hmm. Then there's leader skills, which only matter if the party leader, you, has them.
And things like leadership, prisoner management, stuff like that.
Yeah, but then there's party skills, which just use the highest skill in the party, and you don't generally want to put points into those because you will recruit other people to cover those skills.
Okay, gotcha. So what would you recommend that I focus on? I mean, I want to be a horse archer. That's one that I'm interested in. What else should I do?
I would focus... Okay, first of all, Weapon Master is big if you want to be martial at all. And then you're going to need Power Draw too, but also I would say at least 1 point in inventory management. Whoops. So you can actually do things.
1 point
you can
inventory
reset
management?
Changes.
All right. And then... So should I put 1 more in inventory management and leave it at that?
You don't necessarily need more right now. You'll want more later, and you'll want more leadership skills later, but not necessarily right now.
I'll just start working on my personal martial skills mostly right now.
But Weapon Master, you'll want shield. You'll want Power Strike if you do any fighting. Yeah, the proficiencies, like a lot of things in this game, this is diminishing returns, but it's based on your Weapon Master stat, how much you get when putting points into this.
Oh, gotcha.
And you also level these up by using those skills.
Well, let me... so I'll raise my archery up to 90, and then I'll try to compensate for my crappy melee proficiencies there. Seem okay?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Taylor, you're right. Iron Flesh is a good idea, but it's probably not essential. So, pro tip for your sanity, just hit randomize until you get a look you like.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. Her name is Genghis Khan, because I'm sure that's how you make feminine names in Mongolia. Yeah, I'm done. All right. You hear about Calradia, a land torn between rival kingdoms, battling each other for supremacy, a haven for knights and mercenaries, cutthroats and adventurers, all willing to risk their lives in pursuit of fortune, power, or glory. In this land, which holds great dangers and even greater opportunities, you believe you may leave your past behind and start a new life. You feel that finally you hold the key of your destiny in your hands, free to choose as you will, and that whatever course you take, great adventures will await you. Drawn by the stories you hear about Calradia and its kingdoms, you join a caravan to Craven.
By the way, Calradia is basically a Roman Empire analog.
Oh, okay, interesting. So I assumed that we were... This isn't Roman Empire era, right? This is still medieval era.
Yeah, this is medieval, but it's basically an analog in that its territory is split into a bunch of different states, which all have their own equivalent of the Holy Roman Emperor.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I recommend Praven or Ravedin for your first time because they're more central and the bandit threat is less immediately.
Let's go with
Like
Craven.
the others have like mounted bandits or bandits that are just really nasty.
So Taylor recommended things that I didn't choose. Sorry I didn't look over there in time, Taylor. You came by caravan through the heartland of Calradia. Green shoots of wheat, barley, and oats are beginning to push through the dark soil of the rolling hills. And on the lower slopes of the snow-capped mountains, herds of cattle. I love, by the way, that I've not even seen a speck of 3D graphics except for that one preview of my character. It's just basically all UI up to this point. Grazing on the spring grass. Occasionally, too, you catch sight of one of the great war horses that are the pride of the Swadian nobility. Is this like Sweden? I don't know.
No, don't assume that any, except for Nords, don't assume like
any connection to reality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the names of people have some, but like, yeah.
Alright, so desperate men taking refuge, some relief, you crest a ridge and catch sight of the great port of Praven, rooftops made golden by the last rays of the setting sun. You are exhausted by the time you find the inn in Praven. Fall asleep quickly. However, you wake before dawn and are eager to explore your surroundings. You venture out into the streets, which are still deserted. All of a sudden, you hear a sound. It stands the hairs of your neck on end, the rasp of a blade sliding from its scabbard. And we hit continue, and it takes a while, which I think means, oh yes, here we are.
Congrats, you're in combat.
With who? I don't see anyone. If I heard the blade slipping from its scabbard, I feel like they should be closer to me.
They really should.
Of course, I mean, I shouldn't complain.
You might want to use a melee weapon.
Oh,
or
no,
that.
No, I got this.
Yeah.
Oh, his shield. Oh, it made my.
It's so weird not hearing any of the sounds. Wait, you're playing with a controller?
I'm
you
not.
can do that?
It's just vibrating on the desk.
I didn't even know that this had controller support.
I don't know if it does. It might just have, I don't know, vibration
So,
support.
tip, try not to fight in close combat in first-person mode. It doesn't generally work out that well.
Okay, I will remember that.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the time you can just shoot arrows from third person just as well.
Oh, okay. I thought I'd actually opened a menu while another attacker was running at me.
Yeah, no.
So,
yeah, you'll notice, though, like, at least half the game is spent in conversation and UI.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels like, kind of reminds me of the Bard's Tale, which I played, the original Bard's Tale a long time ago, where it's like, in my imagination, we were exploring this town and having this adventure. But when I look back at old screenshots, there was this tiny, tiny window devoted to an actual depiction of the world, and everything else was UI, which is just so the opposite of the standard that you kind of expect these days. Where like you want to make the representation of the world as huge as possible and uncluttered as possible. Very old school. So, are you all right? Well, I guess you're alive at any rate. I'm not sure we can say the same for the other fellow. That's one less thief to trouble our streets at night, although heaven knows he won't be the last. Anyway, maybe you can help me with something. Let's talk more inside. Out here, we don't know who's listening. The merchant takes you to his house. Once inside, he stands by the door for a while, checking the street, and then finally, convinced you have not been followed, comes near you to speak. Hello. Whoa. I think I'll switch back to first person, just so it's easier to get around when I'm talking. So I should talk to him. Now, let me explain my proposition. We've always had brigands in the hills, driven to banditry by war, debt, or love of violence. I'm trying to read this as quickly as I can. Recently, however, they've been getting bolder, leaving their camps in the wild and venturing into town, looking for unwary prey. The watch commander tells us it's because of all the fighting on the frontiers. Fewer men to keep an eye on the streets, but I'm not sure what to make of that. It seems to me that the most logical explanation is that these bandits have an ally inside the walls, who helps them enter unnoticed and helps them identify particularly tempting targets. Last week, you see, they took my brother. I don't know what my brother was thinking, a lad from a prominent house, out alone after dark in times like these. Well, I suppose you were too, but you're a stranger here, and didn't know how bad things would become. He had no such excuse, but he's family, so what can you do? If you don't protect your kin, then people will start thinking that you can't protect your investments either. And investments? Taylor, is that an English spelling, or is that just a typo? Anyway, and I can't have that. No doubt the gang will soon send word about a ransom, but I don't care to pay it. Holy crap, this guy talks a lot. I guess he's a merchant. They like to talk.
Yeah, some of the things are really, really wordy.
It's funny. There's always a temptation, right? Like when you're typing, you just want to say as much as you can. You've got all these ideas in your head. But one of the hardest things when writing game dialogue is editing yourself so that people can get through things quickly and get to the point without stripping out all of the flavor from the story, which is
part of it.
You can err on the wrong side.
Part of it, I think, is this is text that you'll never see again, whereas most of the text in the game is stuff that you can see multiple times.
Okay, gotcha.
So this, I think, had less editing done on it.
So here's my proposition. You look like you've had a bit of experience with the blade, and more importantly, you must have a bit of fire in your belly, or you wouldn't be coming to Calradia. I want to call it Caladria all the time, to seek your fortune. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Gather a small party, track down these bandits to their lair, teach them a lesson they won't forget, and get my brother back safe. In return, you'll earn my lasting gratitude and a bit of silver. What do you say? Nah, I think I'll skip the main story of it. No, okay, I'm interested.
This actually isn't even main story. This is just a little intro quest.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. How long is the single player experience? Is it a linear thing, or is it more of a...
How long do you want to play?
Is it just
because the game does not end.
Okay, it's just like you get this mission to start, but then there's any number of different missions you can pursue, or?
It's not even quests. Like, your main goals generally aren't quest related.
Interesting.
Like,
it's just about leveling yourself up, getting rich, and that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, if you want, you can theoretically become king of all Calradia.
Oh, really?
Yes.
This game is elaborate. Holy crap.
And the game gets harder the more powerful you get, too.
Of course, I guess that would make sense, right?
And not like by introducing new stuff. It's just that you now have all this new stuff you have to manage.
Oh, interesting.
And things that were practical before are no longer practical when you have a giant army and you need to keep your vassals happy. Like, as we're going through stuff right now, you'll see a bunch of stuff going on where, like, oh, people are holding feasts. Well, why are they holding feasts? If you become a king, you'll see why they're holding feasts.
Wow. So basically, you're playing in an environment that eventually you'll end up managing.
If you want to. You don't have to.
You see it from both angles. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah. I think most people do go for the, like, conquer the entire area thing because there's a nice progression there, but you don't have to.
Oh, this camera swooping back and forth. Oh, he is indifferent to me. So he's told me he's going to give me some money so I can hire people to come and join my party. So we'll do that. You've taken your first quest. You can check the quest log.
Right.
Look at that.
We've got...
Collect 5 men.
So we've gotten the first quest. Now we can happily ignore it.
Yeah, okay, awesome.
Because it is, like, the only non-timed quest in the game.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so you can give me kind of a little bit of a tour of the rest of what's going on. Oh,
yeah.
Press tab to leave.
Yeah, tab is how you leave when you're in map.
What
so,
the crap?
Welcome to the world map. Scroll back to zoom out. So, yeah, Did you see that little... Yep. Did you see that little horse guy? The one... Me. Yeah, that's you. So, hover over Praven.
Oh, there's a garrison there.
Yeah, it shows you all of the combat troops that are in there.
There's a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, so left-click on that, because they're not hostile to you.
You're now viewing the overland map. Left-click on the map to move your party to location. I think you're going to tell me stuff like that.
Yeah, and the game's pretty good about auto-navigating you to locations. I think it uses waypoints. Sometimes it messes up, but then if you, like, hit a wall or something, it'll redirect you.
Okay.
So, welcome to the town where you do tons of different things. So first, take a walk around the streets. Because I'm pretty sure this functionality actually existed before this whole UI. Oh, right, I forgot it starts you out mounted if you just enter right away. But you can get to all of the stuff you could have accessed in that UI from here. It's just sometimes hard to find.
Oh, but, gotcha. So they gave you the UI to sort of like, to give you a shortcut if you just don't want to have to like, oh wait, where was the thing in Pradia? Or whatever, Praven?
But while we're here, talk to one of those townspeople.
Just random
who were
townsperson?
walking around. Yeah, as a standard rule for this, if they're standing still, they're more important than if they're walking around.
I like that my horse keeps moving, and so the camera is slowly panning around that guy.
That's to tell you about the town. Like, normally I'd say just go through all the dialogue options, but I'm trying to give you an overview.
I'm loving the Hulk Hogan look he's got going on.
So, notice how he's telling you all the things the town produces?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
Okay.
going to be different in every town.
Uh-huh.
And there's an economy.
Of course there is.
And yeah, and you can do trading. And if you get off the horse, because you're going to need to, and then go up those steps that were there, again, third person is easier for navigation.
Oh, right.
You can just see more. But go up those castle steps and
Right here?
not the big ones.
The dungeon?
No.
Oh.
There's, the
Oh,
big
those steps.
that you're looking at. And there's a guy up there, and this guy's in different locations in every town, but he's the guild master.
Right. I am on the steps. This is my homeland. Okay, sorry.
That was terrible.
Bad pun.
Castle
Sorry.
guard. The other guy is going to be the guild master.
Hello.
So talk to him. So these guys are really important, and for some reason in the base game, not with the native expansion I was telling you about earlier, but in the base game, there's no menu shortcut to talk to them. I do not know why.
So he's the one guy I have to come hunting for. Everybody else has got a menu shortcut?
Because this guy is both one of the 3 types of quest givers and is also a guy you can talk to get a lot of economic info about the town, and the guy you can talk to purchase land to create an enterprise to produce secondary goods in the town. And that's actually something that generally people who have some experience will start saving up money to do right away, because then they've got a constant income coming in.
So I gotta say, when I sort of heard about this game from the outside, having never played it myself, I've never sat down and really heard from somebody else what it was about, I didn't imagine there would be a big, world map and an economic simulator and being a king, and like all of that stuff just felt like it was I would not have even presumed that was there, or if something like that was there, it would be something on the level of, say, Fable 2 or something like that, where it's like, now you're the king, but you're running around adventuring.
Yeah, no, it's all systems based for the most part too.
Wow.
It's not like story stuff. And if you conquer the whole realm, it doesn't say, "Oh, congratulations." It's just, "Yes, you are now king of the whole realm."
Keep going.
Keep going or quit. Up to you.
Wow. So to fill a couple people in first, hi Joker and hi Turvomoth. Thanks for joining the chat. This is a different kind of stream. Sometimes when there's a game that Cloudcraft or potentially we could do this with other folks. I've only done it with Cloudcraft so far. There's a game that he really knows well and that I just couldn't. It would take me hours and hours to actually understand what's going on. He'll come and give me a tour of the game. So that's what we're doing here with Mountain Blade Warband. Is Cloudcraft is giving me a tour of this game. He did the same thing to get me kickstarted on RimWorld, which is great, which led to hours and hours of me enjoying RimWorld because I was able to get over the initial hump with Cloudcraft's help. So I'm really glad when he does these things with me.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with this dude?
You could go through all the trade stuff, and it can be quite interesting, and the questions of a political nature are also interesting, but I'd like to take the opportunity, ask him if he has a job for you.
You have a job for me? You're looking for a job? Actually, I was looking for someone to escort a caravan. Perhaps you can do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do that?
Don't do it.
Okay.
No, because you need to actually have a force that's good enough to ward off bandits.
Okay, so
To escort a caravan, as opposed to just being fast enough to avoid them.
So far, all I've been taught how to do, because all I've done is play the tutorial. All I've been taught how to do is just fight myself. I've got no idea in my head of what it means to have multiple people with me, and what a party is, what an army would mean.
The only teaching about how to do that is that it will show you the key bindings if you go into the menu. I'll help you out with that if we get to that, but it's not that complicated, and you can learn most of it just by checking the key bindings and playing with them in battle.
Gotcha.
But so remember tab to leave. But I'm gonna take this chance to talk about the different types of quest givers.
Okay.
So there's three types. One is you have nobles, then you've got the guild masters, and then you have, if you go to a village, you have village elders.
Okay.
So all quest givers, if you like succeed at their quests, you're going to get experience and you're going to get a relationship boost with them. But how much that relationship
so far have been
boost
matters
depends on like what's going on. Like relationship with villages is not very useful early on, but when you're a noble or a king trying to recruit mass numbers of peasants, having them like you makes a huge difference.
Gotcha.
So it's a good idea to have good relation with villages in your area. Then with the towns, I believe if I remember correctly, it affects what you get trading. And by the way, a version of this map gets used if somebody lays siege to the town.
Oh, and you get to actually like play and attack?
Yeah.
Or,
It's not this exact same map, but it's the same layout and stuff.
So like if I get to be really familiar with this map, you know, that just by running around and talking to people and trading and stuff like that, that will benefit me when it gets attacked.
To an extent, depending on whether or not the attack actually gets past the walls. But yeah, remember you can also leave just by hitting tab.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm gonna hit
You're going to want to use that a lot. So now, again, we could have gone to all these places otherwise, but go to the castle.
To the castle! It's only a model.
When the game starts out, everybody's in like their own keeps, but they'll start moving around and stuff.
So like this king might end up going somewhere else?
Oh, he definitely will. Because he's also the strongest military force in his realm.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so if there's like bandit problems and stuff, he might go to deal with them?
Yeah, it's a feudal system. So like all of the nobles have lands, like they have villages or towns or castles granted by their regent, which they then raise taxes and armies from.
This is not what I expected from this game, but it's fascinating.
And you will know some differences as a female character, although I wish there were more. If you go to I wish to ask you something, you can find out stuff like what's going on with the realm and the war, and also if you have like a quest to find somebody, you can find out where they are. But yeah, for now, it's not going to give you much info because the game literally just started and everything's in equilibrium, but that won't stay the same. I like that there's 5 factions because it means that it's hard for things to just stay in equilibrium. But yeah, he can give you quests too if you ask him for a job. And other nobles will show up here if they're moving around and stuff. Sometimes there will be a huge feast.
Should I take a mail delivery mission?
Sure, go for it. It's not going to get you much in terms of money or experience, but it will get you a bit more relationship with people. Generally, the nobles tend to be the best ones for just getting large numbers of money and experience, but that one quest is an exception.
So
if you went there, you'd go back to that town map.
Oh, here I am. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is the same door I was at before.
The menu for the towns is just a shortcut to all the things that are in the town. So visit the tavern, because the taverns, like, you visit the tavern you want to almost every time you enter a town.
And what do I want to do here?
So first, talk to the tavern keeper, because they can tell you about, oh, this person might have a quest. And it won't be the only quest, but usually if they tell you about somebody having, like, worrying about bandits, that's usually a lucrative thing.
So Uxcal is a place where I could look.
And yeah, Taylor, you're right. Like, I've gotten around 30 recruits from a town that liked me. Sometimes more.
Wow. The other things.
Also, the different wards, I think there's like 7 or 8 different personality types they can have.
Which affects what? Just like how aggressive they are, that kind of thing?
How they respond to certain things, what quests they'll give. Like some people, if you capture them in battle and then release them, talk to the people in the tavern because there's different. Yeah. Some, if you capture and release them, you'll gain a relationship with them. Others, if you capture and release them, you'll lose influence.
Oh.
Some will hire you to like beat up a local merchant they owe money to.
Huh. So this guy's like a bard type person.
And this guy can tell you about any ongoing feasts, which are really, really nice to know about because of something I'll explain later. We don't want to go through all his dialogue because there's a lot to explain.
Holy crap.
Nope,
that's it. Yeah. Goodbye. Go away.
But
bard.
The basic idea is he's there to tell you about how you can basically get married into the nobility and increase your standing. There's several different stats that are tracked that are basically, I think there's your renown, which just gradually goes up and it's basically how well you're known. Your honor, which is literally how honorable people think you are. And then later on, if you want to become king, you need to build up your right to rule.
Huh. It feels like, because this is kind of, a lot of this game happens at the strategic level, it almost feels like I'm running around inside an RTS, right? Because like there's the sort of the...
It is kind of, yeah. It's basically an RTS that pauses.
Like people move while I move, that sort of thing on the overland map, or
yes, that's literally how it works.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So you often can find mercenaries in here. You can find companions who you can recruit to your cause, and when those people level, you can determine how they level.
Okay.
And you can also determine their equipment.
Do they just fight alongside me in battle? Is that how it works?
Yes, they do. And they also give you valuable party skills. And then, if you've met companions and recruited them but then left them, he can tell you where they are.
So you can track them down again?
They move around between the different towns. And mercenaries are useful later on, not really early. So leave this, and then I want to show you the arena.
All right.
Tab.
That's right. Arena?
Enter the arena, and then this is a guy you're going to want to talk to, because this is tournaments are the way a lot of people earn money early in the game.
Oh, because you've always got your blade and your your good arm, even if you don't have anything else. You should see this place during one of the tournament fights. Everyone from the town and nearby villages comes here. The crowd becomes mad with excitement. Anyway, as I've said, there won't be an event here soon, so there isn't much to see. Except there's an official duel every now and then, and of course we have melee fights almost every day. Well, that's something.
Oh yeah, you're right, Hitler. I will definitely show him recruiting before this is over.
Is there a reward? You can get some dinars?
I just show him that he can do various things.
So should I do this, or should I...
You do it because you'll probably die, well, not die, but you'll probably fall pretty quickly, so just go in there. And if you kill, or if you bring down more than 2 people, you start as an archer. That can be very good, but most of the time you get knocked out quickly. I would just...
It is called a melee, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah, usually what happens in these melee fights is...
I don't think I even have anything besides
the weapons
my bow.
that you want. You have a knife, which can't block.
That's weird. Oh, I'm basically naked.
Yeah, the thing about the tournament or the melee fights is you can fail because of bad luck. But yeah, so talk to him again, because he can tell you about all of the towns that are currently about to hold tournaments. And that's...
Sargoth, Tyr, Suno, Rivacheg, and Ichamor.
Yeah. And that's really good, like I said, for money, because in a tournament you can bet on yourself, And if you keep paying the maximum amount, you'll get a lot of money at the end. And you'll also get a bunch of renown. Although it's diminishing returns, but it's per town.
So why did I not have my axe in that fight? Because I had an axe on my back.
In tournament and melee fights, there's a pool of possible loadouts, and you are randomly assigned one.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so like if I did another fight, I might.
Yeah.
You mind if I try that again real quick?
Sure, go for it.
I'm gonna see what I get. Okay, so I've got a staff now.
Yeah. And you can pick up other weapons as you go. Usually I end up picking up a sword and shield so I can defend myself against the archers. And the melee fights aren't great, but they are decent for getting accustomed to combat with no like negative consequences. And you also get some small experience and money rewards, and they're good for building up weapon proficiencies. Because weapon proficiencies don't build as you level, they build as you hit people. And those proficiencies are actually really important because they don't just affect like damage, they affect speed.
Oh! Dang, I did better that time than last time.
So yeah, get out of this so we can show you how to actually recruit people.
Okay, where's that?
Do check the marketplace real quick, actually, because you can buy horses and arms and stuff, and go to the horse merchant, actually.
Horse merchant.
How much does that horse, the Sumpter, that costs more than you have. So, fun thing about this game that they never tell you, if a horse is in your inventory, so travel speed, like many things, it's affected by a whole bunch of different factors, including what you're carrying. Horses in your inventory mitigate the effects of items you are carrying on your travel speed.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's basically pack horses.
Okay.
And so oftentimes I'll buy a bunch of cheap horses just to have them in my inventory. Yeah.
All right, that works.
Yeah, and then you can get weapons. There's a whole bunch of different weapons and armor. Not going to go through all of them.
Do you think I need better equipment in order to go out there and fight, or do you think I'm fine?
I generally go for better equipment, but just to show things off for now, we don't need to.
Not a big deal. Okay.
And like you'll see generally the price you have to pay for an increase, the amount like it's exponentially increasing how much you have to pay, which works really well. So the difference between a 10 armor and a 20 armor in terms of cost is much less than the difference between a 20 and a 30 usually.
Because I was thinking, because I leveled up my single-handed skill, I was hoping I could grab a single-handed weapon, but it looks like they're all too expensive for me.
Yeah, that's why I usually do the melee a few times just to get money, but you have to actually take some people out to do it.
I took a couple people down, but not enough.
And then the goods merchant is useful because A, you can use goods for trading, and B, food gets consumed and it affects morale. So
was that what I should have done?
So zoom out and find one of the villages. They're these smaller things, and left click on that.
All right. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, generally early in the game, you want to prioritize building up your level and building up money so you can buy things.
All right. Recruit volunteers?
So, yeah, recruit volunteers, and that's why in recruits. And then you can buy supplies direct from the peasants. Usually it's more expensive, actually, than in the towns.
Oh, interesting.
But you can also go to the village and find out what the village produces. And by finding out what the village produces, you're finding out what raw materials are going to be available to the nearby town. And by finding that out, it can help you figure out what's a good enterprise to build in that town. And there's also like a village elder you can talk to too. And yes, these towns do sometimes have battles in them.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Like, they can be raised or they can be infested with bandits, and you either just go to stop a raising army or you get quests to free them from bandits. And you can talk to the villagers the same way. And occasionally, when you're talking to these random people, you'll get, like, an interaction that isn't typical that you weren't expecting. Like, you can sometimes improve your relation with the town by giving somebody who's destitute money.
Oh, interesting. It's in the field. Oh. How do I recognize the village elder?
And that he is standing still. And always is, and is usually on an elevated position.
Oh, interesting. So, Joker is commenting on the appearance of my character. I mostly selected my appearance because she looked like the backstory that I'd created for the character. But I think she also reminded me a little bit of Lady J, who was my first cartoon character I had a crush on when I was a kid, from G.I. Joe. So, you know.
By the way, in general, I'd say the easiest ways to go when you're in combat in this game, in terms of like your loadout, is on a horse, shield, and then sword and bow or sword and lance.
Okay.
That you don't have to do that. There's plenty of other things you can do. I feel like that's the easiest where you can be effective but still survivable. And horses do matter quite a bit. Like, something the tutorial doesn't show you is, aside from their, like, speed and maneuverability, they also have a charge stat, which determines their ability to literally charge through enemies. And when you charge through an enemy, it also knocks them back so they can't attack you, because it does damage.
Yeah, when I was practicing the tutorial, I noticed that, whoosh. If I got a little bit too close to one of the target dummies, I would just stop, and or bump into it. The horse would rear up. And,
inanimate objects will always cause your horse to stop if you run into them, as will other horses. But people, you can run over depending on how fast you're going and what your charge stat is.
So for folks who are watching, what I'm doing to launch different attacks is if I move the mouse to the right and attack, that's a different move from moving the mouse to the left. So I weirdly kind of have to like change my camera angle at the same time that I'm attacking, which feels unusual, but at the same time, I mean, it's not like, you know, attacking different ways doesn't move your head or force you to look in different directions and restrict your point of view in real life. Yeah. So, you know, it seems like it might be legitimate.
So leave the map for the moment. Just leave. And now you're going to want to check out your party.
Oh, okay. Party?
Yeah, so click on the Swadian recruits, and there's an order here, and once you get enough troops that you're, like, exceeding the maximum number of guys that can be on the field at once, that order matters because it determines who gets priority when it comes to getting introduced to the battle.
Okay.
And then other people get introduced as reinforcements.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're nowhere near that point right now. So talk to them.
So what?
Talk to them. Yeah.
Hello. Your orders,
Tell me
madam?
about yourself.
Aye, madam. Let me tell you all there is to know about me.
So, every single unit in the game has these stats, and for the most part, only their combat-related stats really matter.
You're good at trading, though.
I don't think that the skills of, like, regular soldiers actually get counted in your partying skills, but I could be wrong.
Is there a certain, like... So you said there are companions, right? There's, like, a certain class of character that is more important?
Yeah, you meet them in taverns. They're actual characters. They have some interactions while they're in your party, and you equip them and level them as you see fit.
Gotcha.
But they can also, some companions don't really like other companions.
But these guys, I can't equip them. Like, they're going to be carrying this side thing no matter what.
So the way that standard troops work, basically you either have a character or you have standard troops, and on the battlefield they're functionally the same, but whereas characters like get enough XP, gain a level, so on and so forth, standard troops once they get enough XP, you pay a certain amount of money to upgrade them, and then they both gain several levels and a preset like stat increase, and also gain equipment.
Okay.
And there's a branching troop tree. And the main way you get troops in the game is by recruiting them from villages. You can also get mercenaries, but the top tier mercenaries generally don't quite measure up to the top tier regular troops, and they tend to cost more. And the regular troops, they're not only a branching path, but every single faction in the game has its own troop tree.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so the Swatians have are good at heavy cavalry. The Nords are great at heavy infantry. The Vagars are great at archers, and those are the three where I just recruit from them and basically become an unstoppable force when I'm playing the vanilla game.
So I just barely escaped some looters back there, which I'm glad I did.
Looters you might be able to take on your own right now.
There were like 12 of them though, and I only have 4 of me.
Okay. Yeah, you can still sometimes take them because the best they like won't have shields. They'll have poor weapons and armor. They're not very skilled, and their best ranged weapons are rocks. So if you're on a horse, you can take theoretically a number of looters if you're skilled.
Oh wow, okay. So Joker, I appreciate you sticking around, even though this isn't really your type of game. This is the kind of thing where, like, as a game designer, I feel like I want to understand the full range of all the different games that are out there, even the ones that don't personally strike my interest. And I run into a lot of those kinds of games here, games where at the end I'm like, okay, I'm glad I played that. I'm not going to play that anymore. That one, a lot of the games that I play on this stream just aren't my thing. But then now and then I'll find one that rises to the top where it's like, oh, this is one that's actually, it's not just an interesting game, but it also hits my wavelength. And there's a difference between those two things. Like, this is a game where it's fascinating. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I can see why people love it, even though this might not be the kind of game I would have gotten super into on my own.
So one thing, we are starting to run low on time, so I think while I generally would encourage just explore everything, talk to everyone, I think it's a good time to find some looters and get in a fight with them.
Okay.
So the F keys, by the way, are how you command people, and the number keys are how they're grouped.
Okay. There's some looters right here.
So, yeah, go and fight them. So, also, notice all the different terrains. Those don't just affect your move speed. Those affect the battle map.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So it's kind of like the Total War games, right? Where it's like wherever the battle happens, it's kind of based on the terrain on the map?
Yes, but I'd say it's actually done a little better, at least, than the Total War games I've played.
Okay. Nothing but cold
basically,
steel.
For every terrain type, there's a few different maps, and the map you get and your positioning on it is based on and this is yet another calculation that has several factors, is based upon your I think it's called strategic advantage or something going into the battle, which is based on numbers and your tactic skill and possibly something else I can't remember. Basically, the map and your positioning will vary based upon who you're fighting and what you've got.
Okay.
So give them nothing but cold steel scum, though you can pay for free patches.
Yeah, I like they can pay extortion money.
And sometimes just leaving will be an option. And if you hit the tab key, you can retreat.
Okay, I'll remember
while you're in the fight. So once you get in, press the F1 key and then press the F2 key, immediately.
All right, charge the enemy. F1, F2, follow me. So I'm telling my guys to follow me.
Yeah, so 0 is bound to everyone, 1 is bound to infantry, and when you hit one of those, it'll bring up the menu and show you what commands you can do. Because you can have... Yeah, you can have them hold a position, you can have them charge, follow you, you can say mount or dismount, hold fire, don't hold fire. And then in native expansion, which I play, you have a bunch more options. But yeah,
should I tell them
the
to
way,
attack now, or?
I would. You can either tell them to charge or hold back. There's a good chance they're going to die because they are lowest level recruits. If you notice there was a trainer skill in the beginning, that skill becomes really useful later because it means you can train up low-level recruits without putting them in battle.
So let me switch to...
But yeah, also do note that horse archery skill exists because it's not actually being on a horse that affects your aim so much as it is your speed. So if you came to a stop... Wait, these guys all have bows and arrows? Really?
Yeah, they're forest bandits. I guess they're all Robin Hood. Basically.
Oh, they're forest bandits. Oh, okay. Have fun dying. What I normally do in this situation is I just ride circles around them with my shield up until they exhaust all of their arrows, but that takes a while.
And I also don't have a shield.
Yeah. And you're not doing great on shooting right now, but later on, when you get a much higher archery skill and a much higher horse archer skill, you can snipe people while running on your horse in the head across the map if you're skilled.
Alright, well, let's
like, the weapon proficiencies matter quite a bit.
Let's see here.
Also, generally when you're on a horse, length of weapon matters more than swing speed. So in the future, what you're going to want to look for if you're cavalry is you're going to want either a sturdy charging horse or a fast horse, and then a long slashing weapon, and then either a lance or your bow.
I thought I had attacked right there, but I guess not.
You did, but remember there's a time between when you start and when it goes. And you can actually hold the attack button to time it better.
Okay.
And you can just hold that, but they will see it coming. So you get better control of your attack timing.
Oh!
There we go.
I am riddled with arrows. So I lost my guys. I lost myself.
Yeah.
They took me prisoner.
And you can actually have people wounded in combat and then captured and then, like, sold to the ransom broker, for instance.
Oh, here we go. I've escaped, and now, like, what do I even have? Okay, still got my same stuff.
Have you lost anything? Also, you should equip that shield. I think you might have lost some, like, food from your inventory or something. The shield gets equipped where the weapons do.
Okay, so I either have...
You have 4 slots.
There it is. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you lost one of your furs, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
And those are a valuable trade good. And see the banner over there? That's a noble riding around with his, like, retinue.
Okay, should I go say hi?
You can. And yeah, from this point on, it's mostly just exploring and getting used to the game. Usually I like to do several rounds of that melee, both to get into the combat and to get the first few levels and money to increase my combat skills. And then it's mostly for me riding around doing minor quests and tournaments to rack up cash.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's early game. Then, like, if you're becoming king, usually once you get enough renown, when you ask for a job from a noble, you may be offered the chance to be recruited as a mercenary. And then you'll actually, like, be able to, like, fight with their armies, and there's a few other benefits to it. But, of course, their enemies are now your enemies. And any businesses that you had in their territory are now not going to be providing you money until either you leave or the two sides make up. Because they don't just stay at war with each other. They will stop and start wars all of the time, usually over tiny parcels of land.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of when I used to play Pirates, Sid Meier's Pirates all the time. And I think I've clicked on something by accident.
And also, vassals can leave their king, or the king can imprison the vassal and take all their lands if they don't trust them. And that's like where I was talking about feasts. Feasts are great because they're both no matter what level you're at, they're usually chances to improve your standing with various nobles. But also because if they happen in a town, there will be a tournament in that town every single day that the feast is going on. And by winning that tournament, if you don't have a lot of renown, you can get access to the feast even if you wouldn't normally get it. And then you can dedicate your victory tournament to a lady if you want to woo her, or if you just want her political influence.
Oh, what do I do if I am a lady? Can I dedicate it to a guy? Do they take it that way, or is
I don't actually remember. I do know that you don't have the same like marriage and wooing process if you're female, but if you get a husband, he's actually going to be a guy with an army.
Oh, okay.
So, although at the same time, once you go to the whole like being a ruler thing, it also means if you want to talk to him, he may not always be in the same place. So there's kind of a trade-off where you get a totally loyal person who has their own troops, but at the same time, yeah.
The Joker wonders if there's like the concept of having an heir or anything like that when you're a ruler.
There isn't, because there isn't like birth and
there's no death, right? Like I can't die, so what's the point?
The nobles that are in the start of the game are the nobles that exist for the whole game. That pool does not change, even if their territories and allegiances do.
And these nobles, like, is it the same nobles all the time, or is there some random generation going on here?
I don't think there's any random generation. Although if you do an overhaul mod, then it often renames them and redoes a bunch of stuff.
So there's community generation, but not random generation.
Yeah, I think the two most popular overhaul mods are the native expansion, which I play, and the Florist mod pack, which is literally just a huge bunch of popular mods all crammed together.
Okay.
And I don't play that because it's really badly documented.
So Taylor points out that he's got you've got your suggestion of how the early game usually plays out for you. Taylor is saying that he does a completely different thing. It's all about maxing out his party with villagers and leveling them all up. That he's sort of playing the army general mode.
Gotcha. Yeah, part of that difference, I think, is also me playing native expansion, where levels and equipment matter a whole lot more, and the enemy parties are bigger and better equipped. So being fast and mobile is much more beneficial there.
Oh, gotcha.
So I keep the party small and all cavalry at the start.
So you wouldn't have recruited those random villagers that I got killed.
Yeah, look. War party.
Whoa. They don't care about me, right?
You can't. No, they don't care about you. You're just some random mercenary. You can follow them, and you could join the fight with them and get some experience that way, and maybe even some like looted equipment or prisoners. But of course, you'd be fighting against proper armies, but with a proper army next to you.
And so they have these entire simulated battles that go on?
Yes. Although I think in the base game they don't actually simulate terrain advantages, but I'm not certain on that. And
but
the
still,
way that...
Yeah, I mean, that seems like one reason why, I mean, the art in this game is very sort of low fidelity and stuff, but I can imagine if they're going for large-scale battles, all being simulated at once, cutting down on sort of the overhead per character of trying to, do a bunch of high-end rendering, that seems like it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, I think that was the main idea there. And also, the way territory works in this is the villages are like the main economic sources, really. Like, the towns are important, but the towns get like their resources from the villages. And another part of the economy is that caravans and villagers move around, and they increase the prosperity of towns when they successfully make it to a town. But if they get cut off by an enemy force or by bandits, then the prosperity is going to go down. But those villages are tied to either castles or towns. So if you take a castle, you've also taken the villages tied to that castle.
Oh, so that's a big accomplishment if you can manage to pull it off. It sounds like it's probably pretty hard, though.
Unless, of course, those villages have just been raided by your own guys, because they're not producing anything.
This feels like kind of a bad strategic situation here, where this nation ruled by, I don't know, Wurchek and Sargoth. This nation is connected by this bridge, which is right under the nose of this castle owned by a completely different faction. It looks like. It seems like this guy's like Walter Frey right here, or Walder Frey.
It would make more sense if there were actual like water travel.
Yeah.
In the base game. But I sort of get what you're saying, but in the same sense, if they have a larger field army, they can just walk right past that castle.
His castle's like, oh, I'm just not going to touch you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, like, fighting on the field is not at all affected by castles and stuff. Like, sieges are completely separate.
Okay.
They still use the same combat engine, but different maps, different everything.
Well, I think we're out of time, but thanks for giving me this tour of the game. I never could have discovered, so much about what this game's about on my own.
Yeah. The Joker, to answer your question, if you do go to become king, which you don't want to do initially, you usually want to go, like, merc, then noble, and, like, build up a lot of stuff before you actually go for it, so everyone doesn't just hate you. Because you need those nobles to raise armies. But you can make your companions into basically landowning lords. You want to build up their skills and stuff before you do that. But you, like, only if you're a ruler.
That's it. So are there any last comments with the game you want to make before we shut this thing down?
There are far too many to make. Because, like, the further you go, the further you go, the more stuff opens up to you, either because now it's practical or now just you have access to these new systems of being a noble or something.
This game seems much broader and deeper than the impression that it gives up front. Like, when you look at it up front, you see, the name, it's Mountain Blade, and you see, like, like images of people fighting. You're like, this is going to be just a little, melee combat simulator. You think of it's going to be something like, what's that one that hasn't come out yet? That, why can't I think of the name of it? Whatever. The one with, like, it's got, like, Vikings and samurai and medieval knights all fighting each other.
Although Mountain Blade has come out with the Viking thing now.
Of course they have. But I'm thinking, like, it feels like it's going to be that kind of game, and then you get into this and you realize, no, it's this much larger thing. It feels like it's almost like a like one of those larger like the makers of Stellaris, like a Paradox type game. It feels like there's that kind of game going on, and you just are riding around inside it, which is, really kind of rare and special.
Yeah, we could have literally spent this whole time just doing combat and not finished all of it.
Turvoma is making a plea for that for how fun this game is. He says, "Trust me, Jeff. When you reach the point where a king will give you a whole town or a castle with a steady income and all that stuff, it's so much fun."
It becomes more fun, more difficult, and gives you more options as you go on. When you are riding with an army, there are so many things that you're trying to factor in to make sure you personally are not going to, like, get captured and lose all your guys or something by getting caught out.
Yeah.
While keeping yourself supplied and all of that crap.
Holy crap. Well, this sounds amazing. And so thank you for sharing with us. And I think I'm going to save and exit. But thank you and thanks to everybody who's paying attention, for being here and checking this game out with us.
One final thing, yet again, I want to say, if you do get all the way to the point of being a king, the native version of the game can actually start to feel a little repetitive and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's when you want to go and look at the various overhaul mods and stuff.
You were talking about the one called Native Expansion is the one that you use to play.
Yeah, that one just tweaks and adds to, like, just about every system in the game and adds some features that felt missing. Mm-hmm. There's others that do more. There's others that are like, there's a Middle-earth one. There's a Game of Thrones one.
Of course there is. Speaking of Walder Frey, that's awesome.
Yeah, like, all of the maps and stuff, like, all the content, all the systems and stuff can be messed with, apparently, by modders.
Oh, that sounds amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna shut the stream down so we can get back to work. And again, thank you so much to Cloudcraft for doing this. And you're Cloudcraft Games on Twitter. Right? Is there anything else I should say about who you are?
I'm a game developer currently working on a board game that's going digital, but the project has not been put on hold but slowed down recently because of external factors.
That I've seen many such things. So I know the situation. I'm sorry.
It's very irritating.
Oh, but it's been great having you here. So thanks a lot for contributing your expertise on this. And we'll leave it at that. See you later.
See you.